To get through here in this executive order. It's a very short text, but a lot of really interesting and very important detail. First of all, that signature from the US president does mean that the separation of children from their parents, in theory, according to this executive order, should end pretty much immediately. The president, though, does say that his zero-tolerance policy on the border will continue, so that's only one small part that is stopped by the US president. He could have called his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, who signed this whole thing off in the first place, and stopped this zero-tolerance policy that led to these separations altogether, but decided not to do so. Now, in this executive order, first of all, there's the title. The title suggests that what the president wants is Congress to sort this out. He said this all along, only Congress can fix it. That was wrong. The US president can fix this. The separation of children from their parents on the border was entirely his administration's making and could have been stopped by him. But what he wants here is the US Congress to come up with a bigger immigration bill that gives him more of what he wants, maybe some funds for that border wall between Mexico and the United States. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. There is no mention in that executive order, by the way, about what happens to all of those children who have already been separated from their parents. We do not know what will be happening to them. They are being held separately from their parents right now. One more thing in this executive order is that what it essentially does, instead of separating families, is it would entail that families would stay together in detention, parents with their children, once they are stopped by the authorities on the border. For how long? Well, the US government and the US president want this to be indefinite. That is illegal right now. In other words, to conclude, this story isn't over yet. There will be all sorts of questions asked about this executive order just signed by the president.
And Philip, I wonder what this whole sorry episode means for Trump, for his administration, for his presidency.
Well, the fear for him was to look weak, essentially. There were all sorts of false statements coming from the White House and the administration over the last few days. They said they couldn't change this policy. It would have to be the US Congress that would do this. The Secretary of Homeland Security said very publicly that there was no policy to separate children from their parents. That was also untrue. So what the president has done here essentially is he's caved in, but at the same time he wants to be seen as the one who's taken this strong decision by signing an executive order. His daughter has thanked him publicly on Twitter as well for this compassion. He wants it to be seen as a compassionate moment for him. What this also, though, means for the US president is he becomes aware of the politics of all of this and the midterm elections coming up in November, because there was a lot of Democratic opposition to this policy, but also Republican opposition. And where did that come from? Well, largely from Republican members of Congress who are up for re-election in the midterms in November. They were under pressure to come out and criticize this policy. That led to the US president being under immense pressure worldwide. Doesn't care that much about that, but from Republicans in the House of Representatives and from Republicans in the Senate, that did make a difference in the end.